We can get. All right, so welcome everyone. This is our last session of part of Main Street Accelerator. It feels like January was really long time ago, like January of 2025 maybe, but nope, same year. And here we are, the last session, and overview of today's agenda. We'll start again with our last updates from everyone. I really enjoy hearing where everyone's at. And today, the big focus is on sustaining momentum past this program. So we hear often how much this program gives you that accountability and that structure to get that project done that's been on the shelf, maybe. But then what happens after that accountability goes away? And we've seen some great teams move on and do really excellent things, and then we've seen other teams kind of fall off. And we want to see you guys be successful. So we're going to be talking about why does that momentum stall, how we can strengthen your team, expand the team, what comes next. We'll do a quick review of the tools that we've talked about over the 6 months, and then we'll wrap up. All right. So let's do a last round of updates here. And Mark, I see you're off mute, so I'm going to pick on you first to give us a quick update of what's going on in Fairfield.
Well, I was going to defer to Beverly.
Oh, okay.
No, no, just
Oh,
joking. Beverly's probably on a heart attack right now. But yeah, from Fairfield, we're all working towards our cultural district celebration event on June 27th, which includes an artisan fair from 10 to 3. We've got a great lineup of events planned for the day. This is kind of a relaunch of and to create more awareness. We did around the cultural district. We did put out a survey. We've got I don't know, like 70 or so responses to date. So we're looking to continue to share that. If you fill out the survey within the next couple of weeks, you get a cool hat. So hopefully, or at least win the option. I guess a chance to win a cool hat rather. So we're working on that, working to install the digital kiosks, which are being shipped today, delivered to our public works yard, and will be installed hopefully later this month. So got some other marketing materials in the works. So our marketing plan is progressing thanks to the team's efforts. So appreciate the opportunity to share.
awesome. Great work. Very good, guys.
Question
Who's
on the digital kiosk. Where are you looking to install that? Is it going to be ground based or building facade based, or how do you plan to install that?
Yeah, they're ground based. They're mounted on concrete pads. It's been a learning process throughout. We saw these very neat, freestanding kiosks elsewhere, and but there's a lot of prep that obviously has to go into it. So, Bill, happy to share more details on it offline. But we did get sponsorship from both universities, which helps to pay about half the cost.
Thank you.
William? Since you're quick with the unmute button, Torrington, what's
Oh,
You're
going
ready.
on?
that's
We
what
got a lot of
happens,
energy
Bill.
here.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot's been happening since the last time we've met. Like we had announced, today is our big day. Today's the block party initiative that we're hosting within an hour or so. We've been getting a lot of buzz social media wise, so we're hoping for a good turnout. It is a bit hot out today, but we'll see what happens. We got a few of the local vendors in the area who are going to be participating. We have a local ice cream shop that's in the north end that's going to put up their ice cream cart and kind of do their whole promotion on their business. We ended up deciding to help support the businesses by purchasing items on the business side. And for example, the ice cream shop, we purchased a few coupons that they can just give out to people. There's a local pizza shop that's also in the north end that we purchased a few boxes of pizza to hand out to people as they come in, and a local taco shop that's also within the north end that also is going to give us a few items to give out as well. So it's a way to help promote the community, promote the businesses in that area. And it's just it's just towards the greater goal of us trying to get more community engagement, community outreach, and engaging with members of that north end area. we're going to be proposing the potential and what was our final submission for this accelerator project, which is the Pocket Park idea that we're going to push out. Preliminarily, we've been speaking to a few members of the community, and they've been supporting it wholeheartedly. They've been loving that idea. They're behind it 100%. So we're hoping that once people come out tonight, interact with us, speak with us, we can garner more of that support and get more of those people to kind of follow us with what we're doing, get those volunteer signups as well, because we're going to be eventually wanting to clean up that lot, doing all that stuff. So it's going to be a great turnout, I do hope, and I do think.
Awesome. That's really exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing how it goes. Great work, guys. Who's next?
I'll go next for, okay.
You got it. You got it.
All right, Annie. Yeah, so Deep River, our banner program, our lamppost program is ready to launch almost. The banners have been ordered, the brackets have been ordered. We are nailing down the nitty-gritty in terms of how to acknowledge the sponsors. We've been working with the EDC to get links active on their page, information on their page, the flyer on their page. So we can start collecting funds. We got our EIN from the bank. We have the bank account all set up. We're about to set up a Venmo account as well. So we have like a lot, we have like all these balls in the air. And other than like the actual ordering of the hard goods, all these little balls are kind of up in the air, and we're trying to like chase them down and get them checked off the list. So we're super close. We're hoping to have everything up and installed by the end of June, the last week of June, I think is our goal. And that's really it in a nutshell, where everyone's getting really excited. Yeah, so.
Love it. Very exciting. Thanks, Sage. Annie.
Yeah, for our mural project, we were about 30 days into fundraising. We need $600 more to meet our goal. So that's promising. We've completed our community outreach. We did 4 or 5 drop-ins in local downtown businesses, nonprofits at a community event last month. Got some really good feedback and excitement about the mural. And then we are just about done finalizing the RFQ, which will hopefully go out, I would really fingers crossed, next week. But you know how those things are.
Congratulations on getting so close to that fundraising goal. That's huge. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Last but not least, I believe Westbrook.
Good afternoon from Westbrook. So we're working on our community outreach. We had a nice article written about the project in our local newspaper, the Harbor News, to try and get the profile of the project out there a little bit. We've got some additional community outreach events and information planned in the very near future. We were successful in reaching out to Eversource to talk with them about some assistance with the project. So we now have a good contact person, and we're going to be working closely with them on whatever assistance they might be able to provide, whether that's technical or whether that's potentially financial. Our budget for the project was surprisingly large, so we're going to need to up our fundraising effort. We have identified a couple of additional funding sources, and we'll be reaching out to them shortly as their deadlines approach. So we're gearing up for that. Since we initiated the idea, there is now another project that might piggyback on this project, which would be an electric vehicle charging station in the parking lot project. So now we're going to have to kind of work a little bit around that, but we view that as a positive addition to the project. We're going to shortly be working on a much more detailed set of specifications for the project. We've been talking to an electrical engineer about that in partnership with Eversource, so we think that will really move it along. We're working on additional information to put on the web page, which links to our QR code from our flyer. I think those are the recent highlights that we wanted to share.
Excellent. Great job, everyone. I have to say, next week, we'll have our State of Maine and I'll be saying some nice words about all of you, but you guys really have been an amazing group. This is our third year of doing this program, and I'm just truly impressed. The caliber of the teams, the projects, it's really very, very impressive. And so just I've really enjoyed working with you all. And, with these updates, we do these updates so that everyone can hear what everyone else is doing, because one of the other goals of this program is that, these connections that you've made across different, towns, you keep them moving forward. So, let's find each other on LinkedIn and get connected. But also when we have a project that we're doing similar in another town that we've just talked to, you now have contacts that you can reach out to in addition to us at Connecticut Main Street, but you also have your peers. So very exciting, guys. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about keeping this momentum and positive energy going, because we do not want you to become Stonebridge of our case study. So if you've read the case study of Stonebridge or not, we're going to do a quick recap of it and just have a quick discussion here. So in Stonebridge, they were active participants in Accelerator. They met the deliverable requirements, and they had a really great project lined out. It's a wayfinding project. But then life happened, and the team members started, kind of dropping off a little bit, not being able to participate as fully as they once were. And so communication became really inconsistent, and roles and responsibilities became very unclear about who was doing what. And as a result, a critical grant deadline was missed, and that really just killed everything, and the team disbanded. This is not a super far-fetched story. This could happen to you. And so how do we not, let that happen? So just as a quick discussion, to come off mute, what in this Stonebridge case study, why do you think everything fell apart? What stands out to you of what was their demise?
Communication, right?
What was that?
Communication. You have to keep that up.
Yeah, communication, absolutely.
And I don't think, Kristen, that there was a commitment to the team beyond the formal contours of the project. So I was impressed with our team last week. William, when we met, he got us on the spot and said, "Are people committed to working on this beyond the?" And I thought that's a good move. And yeah, of course we are. So, I think creating that opportunity to sort of see if people are willing to see this to the next step and the next step. You have to be sort of direct and honest about that with your team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you recall, back in month 2, we talked about why projects fail. And these were kind of the 6 big buckets of why projects fail. And, there's a lot of nuance in all of them, and there might be some additional ones. But when I look at this list here, there's 2 that really, really stand out to me of why Stonebridge failed. Was insufficient leadership. They absolutely did not have that leadership. And also under inadequate resources, the people fell off. They didn't have the commitment. And also tools, in terms of, broad definition of tools, they didn't have their communication channels lined up. They didn't have that, meeting schedule there. that's what really stands out to me is why Stonebridge failed. And I think, Mike, you really kind of said it great, the lack of commitment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Any,
I agree with Mike as well, and what you were just saying. I think our team is very strong and we have the same vision. We all know Fairfield, every inch of Fairfield. And I think collectively it's made us a strong team under the leadership of Mark. And we really came together. We agreed on many, many things and put our best foot forward and made it happen.
I love it. I love it. Any other comments?
From Torrington, we had something happen last week in our final push for planning for our block party event. It was a little bit hilarious, and it goes to leadership and it goes to resources. So in part of resources is you got to figure out people's strengths and you got to get commitments on those strengths.
Yep.
And one of our team members wasn't able to attend our team meeting last week, and that person's strength happened to be event planning. And the three of us who were in the room were
Woefully under.
we were inadequate. And so we quickly realized that the event planning arm of our team needed to be brought up to speed to make sure we had a lot of checks in place to have a successful event, because we were three blind mice that were running amok. And so I think that goes to for the duration of our project. It's really we've worked together and we have identified what are our strengths, and now assigning tasks that align with those strengths, because we don't want to falter at the last mile because we just kind of haphazardly do this. It has not been haphazard to this point; it's been intentional. So I think really taking a step back and being intentional about our planning going forward.
And to add to that, just one more thing, because and it goes back to the example with the stone. What is it? Stonebridge. Stonebridge. The member who wasn't able to attend that meeting because something happened in her personal life that made it impossible for her to be at that meeting. We as a team were able to resolve that situation without not because of her or without her, but that we had to keep moving forward, to William's point. So that's also critical. If the whole team isn't strong and the whole team isn't willing to take on the things, or if they're going to be like, well, if they're not here, then whatever, that type of attitude, then that's where you're going to have your lacks and your faults.
Mm-hmm. I underscore what you just said, William, is aligning tasks with people's strengths. That is so critical. So you guys are kind of like beating me to the punch here, which is fantastic. And so, as we move forward, how can we strengthen the team? And so some questions for us to reflect on here. The current makeup of the team, review the current roles. Do there need to be adjustments? So if there has been the team lead, and for whatever reason, they cannot continue in that team lead position, now is the time to have that frank discussion and honest discussion about, their ability to lead into the next phase of implementation, right? So do there need to be any adjustments on the team? Similarly, does the team need to change? Do you need to bring on new people? Do some people need to step down again for whatever, life reasons, circumstances have changed, they need to step away, and someone else needs to come on board? Again, it's better to be upfront and honest with yourselves and your team members, these questions, because without that communication, things go sideways. And then if there are any changes to the team, to the leadership of the team, how does that, affect the implementation of the plan? How does that change that project plan and who's doing what task? And what are the consequences of that beyond the project implementation? And then lastly, how are you going to communicate? Is there a reoccurring meeting schedule? That you just put on the calendar, hey, we're going to meet the first Tuesday of every month and and we can readjust as we go. What tools are you going to use to keep updated? Things like, right, we have Google Docs, Dropbox, Asana, Trello, all of these project management tools. Are we just going to keep to email? What are the tools that we are going to use to keep things moving forward? I'm going to give you, I think, about 5 minutes here to break out into your teams to discuss these questions amongst yourselves. Any questions or comments so far? Okay. Excellent. I'm going to give you guys, though, five minutes to reflect on these questions and dive a little bit deeper into them. Very good. I know that you guys already had a lot of those conversations, but I hope that brief 5 minutes, just gave a moment to touch base. Does anyone want to share anything that came out of that?
I think as Beverly, I'm sorry, as Beverly mentioned, we used as our accelerator team, we have some strengths in that we used as our accelerator team an existing group that was meeting regularly to begin with and will continue to meet post the project. So we have kind of this built-in communication meeting schedule that we'll use to hold people accountable for the deliverables. But this has been helpful to kind of build a framework to keep us on task.
Gotta keep that taskmaster, Was that Sage that was?
Yeah. So two of our team members aren't here today, which illustrates the challenge that we have had a little bit with us all being volunteers and all having full-time careers and jobs to attend everything all the time. And so the three of us that were here today, we know one member is going to step back after this project is fulfilled or seen to completion. And so I said, that's totally great, but start thinking in your head if there's anyone you think would be a good replacement or someone like, our team dynamic, kind of the things we're doing. So trying to be productive ahead of time so that we can keep our team strong, even if it does change over the course of time. So we had that discussion. But yeah, without Zoe and Dan's an architect and he's got a huge deadline tomorrow. And Zoe's a zoning officer and she's got she's a zoning officer for multiple towns. So she's constantly juggling everything. And she was hoping to be on today and multitask while she was on, but then she got called away. So we're all doing the best we can. And I'm really impressed with our team, given our limitations, what we've accomplished thus far. And I have every faith that this project is going to be a huge success. And I think we owe that also to your leadership, Ani and Kristen. So thank you for all your resources and encouragement.
Excellent. And thank you for that. That's great thinking. Hey, you got to step off, no problem. Find your replacement. That's a really great tactic. Very good. Anyone else want to share anything?
Kristen, I would say for Torrington, I think there's agreement on the team. We need to add somebody from the affected neighborhood for phase 2. So, that's something that was a goal of ours for phase 1. Didn't happen, but there were some candidates we're going to approach and try to recruit 1 or 2 people on. And I think that would be the right thing to do. And I think it would help us proceed as well. So
definitely. Excellent.
And we just reconfirmed our commitment to our meeting schedule for the rest of the year. But we also need to reconnect with some people who we engaged early on in the process, make sure they're still willing to continue with the project and just confirm some of that. So just a couple of reminders for ourselves. So we used the time pretty wisely.
Excellent. Excellent.
Do you think that was a sufficient amount of time, or would you have liked more time?
I think it was a good reminder for us to talk about it actively in dialogue. I think it was a good amount of time in this setting, but it was definitely served as a good reminder to make sure we're talking about it and being transparent with each other.
Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, we need to have those honest conversations because things will just fall sideways if we don't. But a lot of things that you all talked about brings us to this next session. So while we strengthen our team, how can we expand the team? And so first one being volunteers, that almost all of you have touched upon. And a little, I guess, like preview into my State of Maine address that some of you will hear next Tuesday. We hear a lot that people don't want to volunteer anymore. It's hard to find volunteers. And there could be some truth to that. But I want to offer a different way of thinking about it. And based on a lot of our field service work across the state, sometimes it feels like a country. We have seen that there's actually a lot of people that want to get involved in downtown, but they don't know where to plug in. They don't see the opportunity. And to me, what that says is that to take a moment to really craft roles and responsibilities and recruit for those specific things is where, maybe we can turn that narrative around about no one wants to volunteer. It does take more time and effort, right, to kind of think through these volunteer roles and descriptions. But I think that we might see the return on investment in that. Especially given how, kind of time starved so many of us are. And I want to highlight a few resources. One is in your binder on page 87, and I'm going to pull it up here. This is from Colorado Main Street. They put together this really excellent toolkit, kind of like a 101 establish your volunteer program. And they broke it up into really kind of discrete steps to really build out, a robust volunteer program. And so take what you want from this template here. At the bottom of the page, there is the direct link where you can access all of this information, but we'll be sure to follow up this PDF that has all the clickable links on here so that you can easily access them. But there's a lot of great templates and worksheets that you can think through to expand your volunteer team. So that's one resource to hand off to you. The other one is an example that I bring up a lot, and excuse my Eversource firewall. This is a safe website, just Eversource is very sensitive. This is from Macon, Georgia. Macon, Georgia has a business improvement district. They're a Main Street program, and they actually won a Great American Main Street Award in 2024 from Main Street America. It's a really excellent program. So just in general, if you need some good inspiration, they're a great organization to look at. But they had a really big problem of negative perception. So all of this work, positive, great work was happening in their downtown, but it was still like really negative narrative around downtown. So what they did was they created what they call a hype team. And the hype team is a mixture of in real life ambassadors. So you can see them here. They have coordinated shirts and they have this cool like little fanny pack thing where they hand out merch and posters about downtown. But they are deployed when there's like a big festival or a big event that they know there's going to be a lot of people downtown. So these are real life ambassadors that are trained and equipped to, interface with the public. The other side of this hype team program is social media based. So they have the hype team volunteers sign a social media contract, if you will, on how they will show up and represent the town on social media. And so they have a policy of 110% positivity. So they actually outline certain topics that they do not want their volunteers to even engage with, you know, the hot button issues that just get everyone riled up. You know, we do not want you participating in those conversations. And if you do, you're out of the volunteer team. And so the Macon Downtown organization will send out social media copy and images for all of the volunteers to distribute on their own social media networks. Then they also then did a little bit of a riff on their hype team and called Hype Hounds. So they know, you know, people love their dogs and people love seeing dogs on social media. So they created a whole kind of sub program and it got printed these, you know, really cute downtown bandanas that their dogs wear. And it's a whole social media presence. This, I think, is an excellent idea that can serve as a huge source of inspiration, whether that's to replicate your own hype team in your own community, or even see how they set up this volunteer program. So on this website, they actually have a whole toolkit available for other communities to replicate in their own community. So it's a Dropbox that has their application forms, training materials, all sorts of information that you can take and use. They ask for you to give some credit to. Like I said, I think this is a really cool program that could be implemented in all of your communities, but if not this program, take a look at how they are structuring this volunteer program. There's very clear expectations and guidelines that are set up. And I think it's something that, you know, we should find some inspiration from. Again, we'll send out all of these links in our recap email, so you can dive into this material. Any comments or questions when we talk about volunteers or the hype team program or anything like that?
I have a question, Kristen. Typically,
Yes.
where would the responsibility for coordinating an effort like that, the hype team, reside?
So this would be, you know, looking at the current structure of your community. So for some of us here, there's a cultural district. Maybe it falls under a cultural district. If there is a downtown management organization, you know, ideally there, but that is a really important question, Mike, to look at, because there does need to be an answering body, if you will. And I think that the answer will depend, you know, on the community.
Got it. Thank you. That helps.
Yeah. All right. So another way that we can expand our team is working with consultants. And so a lot of us here have a lot of experience working with consultants or other professionals. And some of the projects here require working with professionals for sure. Westbrook, Deep River, Vernon, all of you, you know, you need to hire someone outside of your project. And so this is just another resource for those of you who may not be used to creating requests for proposals and, you know, soliciting proposals for this type of work. And again, another resource that's in your binder here is a video from Laura Peary. She is our board chair. She's also an architect that works across the country. And she really outlines, it's a short video on just what goes into a good RFP and what to look for in selecting a consultant to work with. So take a look at that if this is a new area for you. And then lastly is partnerships. Partnerships are critical to any of our work downtown. Your team makeup is reflective of how important partnerships are, they can also be really rough. I am sure we could all swap stories of partnerships that have gone wrong. And one of the tools that, at least in my experience, is not overutilized, and I think that it should be utilized more, is the process of writing an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. This process of writing an MOU really brings to light any of the red flags that could be in this potential partnership. I have some red flags up here on the screen, but, if they're refusing to put anything in writing, yeah, that's a really big red flag. If they're, not being transparent with what they want to get out of this partnership, or if they are speaking about capabilities that they have, but do not demonstrate that they have those capabilities. If you haven't had an open and frank conversation about what actually do you, want to get out of this, what is your agenda? If even before you enter into a partnership, they're really flaky with meetings or email communications. And of course, if you, have seen or known about, past failures, or, failed partnerships, all of these things are, red flags that we should not and cannot ignore. Are there any other partnership red flags that you have experienced that you want to add to this list? So there is a template MOU, again, in your binder, that you can use to structure, what should go into an MOU and go from there. I'm thinking about some of our teams in here in particular. While I was preparing for this session today, Vernon, I was thinking about your project and, just the mural on their wall. I know that they've been very collaborative and everything, but, thinking through, okay, has everything been thought through totally? And, does an MOU need to be developed or, something in writing? But I'm sure that there's also other teams here that, might need something in writing for partnerships. It's not for this project, but for other projects. Okay. I heard a lot that in terms of expanding the team, volunteers will definitely be an area that a lot of us are working in. And a lot of us are already, working with professionals as well. Do you see other areas maybe that you didn't anticipate expanding your team in that you'll need to look to in the future? All right, we can move on. So what comes next in this program, and not just, outside of this program, but what comes next? So let's take a look at what we have done. So in Main Street Accelerator, you've had this structured accountability. You really formed up your teams and really found your groove and found this cohesion. You learned tools and frameworks to implement, and you really focused on project design, creating a really solid, thoughtful project. So now we're entering into project implementation, right? So this is doing the thing. And a lot of us have even already started the project implementation piece. But we know that we need to continue to meet, like we've already discussed. We know that at one point we need to do evaluation of whether that's at milestones or at the completion of our project, but we're going to have to keep that evaluation going. And then also through this entire time, of course, we are here to support you, Connecticut Main Street Center. So, you're never alone, right? If anything comes up in your project. And then tied to this is, right, continuing the momentum. So this project is, the whole purpose of this program is to, focus on the small kernel of a program that can spark so much more action and momentum. And that could mean pursuing a more comprehensive downtown management approach, working towards establishing, an entity that does downtown management. It could be meaning, new projects and new initiatives that are going to compound each other. And one of the key things that I want us all to keep in mind here, we talked about this at the very first kickoff, is the 8 guiding principles of downtown revitalization. And these principles here in a nutshell tell us that it is the small incremental action-oriented efforts, that we can do that are consistent over time is when we are going to see the change or reach the goals that we want to see in our, downtown, our main streets, town center, whatever it is. And so, again, what we focused on in Accelerator is really meant to equip you, your teams, with the tools and the frameworks that you can reuse over and over again, right? So let's review some of the tools and frameworks that we talked about over the last 6 months and how we can keep using them. So one is our Connecticut Main Street approach graphic. So this is the graphic that on the outside describes the 6 qualities of a vibrant downtown. And on the inside circle is the 4-point approach to Main Street management. This is a really great tool for us to get clarity on intended goals and outcomes. So when we do a project, hey, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to move the needle in investment in diverse economy? Are we trying to create a better, unique sense of place? How, in a greater kind of overarching goal, what are we trying to do here? We can make sure that the initiatives and the activities that we are doing in our downtowns are balanced. I know I've mentioned this before, but we see in a lot of communities, they focus on events as kind of a starting point for their downtown momentum, which is great, but it can't stop there. And all of your projects that you're working on are much more diversified than that. But we can use this tool to make sure we're in balance. We can use it as a quick poll. What's working? What's not? We're really weak in economic vitality work. How can we improve that? Or we're really weak in being welcoming and inclusive to all. I don't know. You can just use it as a quick, pulse. And then also this can help us create that annual work plan or that strategic plan that we have. The other tool that we used is the 5 whys technique. And so this is when we start with a problem question, we ask why 5 times, and then we brainstorm countermeasures, things that we can do to address each answer at each why. And this is a tool to determine root causes of an issue. We can also kind of flip it on its head a little bit and just do a gut check on our intentions of an already formed idea. So, hey, why are we actually doing this project? Does it actually meet the root reasons of why we want to do something, and is there a better way to do it? And then when we go through the process, it can help us identify the projects that will really help us address those root causes that are perpetuating whatever problem or challenge we have in our downtown. The apple tree matrix is a way that we can sort ideas or projects into categories based on how hard they are to implement and the value that they add. So this is a really excellent tool when we have to prioritize projects, that some just need to be put on the back burner for another day because we do not have the resources to do them all. It could also be used just to do a gut check on the project's merit. Is it even worth it? I mean, personally, I will say that I feel like I have a lot of ideas. I'm a big ideas person. And when I use this chart myself, I'm like, that's that unworthy action. It's that, it's on the ground. It's rotting already. It's not good at all. And that's okay, because now I have a diagnostic tool that can just help me quickly decide if this is going to be worth my time and effort. And then this tool is also great to get group consensus. If if you're having a really hard time getting group consensus, this tool can be that judge, you know, if this really makes sense to move forward. We have the tool of the spectrum of public participation. That's what I'm calling it. I don't really know if it has a name, but that's what I'm calling the spectrum of public participation. And I love this tool, right, because it tells us that different community engagement tools, different community engagement goals require different tools. And so we can look at that, look at the goals of our project and align that with this spectrum here to determine what do we actually need to use to reach, you know, the community engagement aspect of our project. And then lastly, we provided project templates, flyers, and budgets for you to reuse, you know, to make your own, but use these templates as a starting off point for you to collect all of the tasks and organize them in a way for the project flyer to follow best practices and to use that template to talk to different audiences, and the budget to think through all the phases of the project from planning, implementation, and maintenance of it. Out of all these tools, I'm curious as to, you know, questions or comments or things that you really liked that you think you're going to be taking with you into projects beyond just Main Street Accelerator.
I often use that Apple Tree Matrix different format in evaluating options with other groups. So it's very helpful, I think. I didn't see it portrayed in this way, but it's an easy way to think about strategies and which ones to pursue.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I like this one too. It's not overly complicated, like in the words. These things can get very complicated.
I really like the 8 guiding principles, and I'm looking back at my notes from like our very first session, and I actually highlighted different things and made comments on it, and I think it just really broke it down in a very easy to understand, practical way of approaching things.
Mm. Thanks, Sage. I love that. Yeah, it's one that I think we maybe don't give enough attention to, depending on what circle, you know, we're in, but it's really this consistent action and just incrementally, you know, reaching our goals downtown. That's the way we got to approach it.
I think for me, it's, I tend to talk about this a little bit more. We all have gone through this wonderful process, and in conversation and within Fairfield, I may bring up the topic. And what are your thoughts? And what would you like to see? And it's amazing how people like to talk and like to share. And most of it ties into what we've learned through this program.
Love it. Excellent. Yeah, I think that one of the things that we've seen now in our third year of doing this program is, in some ways, it gives kind of excuses to just have these informal conversations, you know, just kind of talk to businesses or talk to folks we haven't met before. And hopefully, right, that's like something, you know, we just keep doing, you know, not being afraid to have those conversations. Excellent. Wonderful, guys. Today, we're going to end a little bit early. So I can wrap us up with our next steps, and then we can just, you know, if there's any other additional comments or questions about anything, we can hang back. But so my big kind of takeaways for today as we close out today's session and also the program is that June 16th, so that's next Tuesday, is our State of Maine event. We will have your beautiful flyers on display. thank you for everyone who has registered. If you still haven't registered yet but can make it, please do so, and we'll make sure you get a name tag. They'll be printed on Monday, so if you don't register by then, you won't get a name tag. But we will have folks who will be in attendance. At the end of lunch, you will all be called up to the stage where, you know, I'll say some nice words about you, and we'll take a picture. So just be prepared for that. We will be sending out grant contracts at the end of the month. And so the grant contract will spell out kind of all of the next steps and things like that. But we'll be sending that out at the end of June, maybe beginning of July, just depending on some, you know, vacations and that kind of a thing. But be on the lookout for that. And then lastly, please, please, please complete the program evaluation. When you exit out of today's Zoom, you should be automatically routed to the Google form to fill it out. As we've talked about
also.
Oh, you put it in the chat too. Perfect. You know, as we talk through this program, evaluation is like really critical to any of our projects as we talk to our funders, but also how we improve it. As I mentioned, this is the third iteration of this program, and every year we make improvements based on last cohort's experience. So it does not go into the ether. It is actively used to improve this program, which in turn, I think really strengthens all of the downtowns across the state. So please take the moment to complete that. You know, you can be critical, that's okay. We won't take it personally unless you're mean, but I know you won't be. Anyways, with that, that wraps up this portion of Main Street Accelerator. As I mentioned, now we're going to be headed to implementation where we'll still be there to support and guide you, but just in a less structured way. But if anyone has any last parting comments or questions that you want to talk about, we're here. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
See you next Tuesday.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys.